The hospital lights were blinding, cold, and merciless. Alarms echoed through the hallway in sharp bursts that made the air feel electric. Nurses rushed past, pushing metal carts, their shoes slamming the floor as if the building itself was trying to wake up. Rain from outside still clung to Daniel's clothes, dripping from his hair onto the polished tiles. He didn't even wipe his face. He couldn't. He was frozen. Because on the ICU bed in front of him lay a woman who should have been a stranger, yet she wore his exact face. Not a resemblance, not a coincidence. His face. Jawline, eyebrows, the same faint scar on the left cheekbone he had carried since he was 10. It was like looking into a duplicate life he never knew existed. Monitors surged into frantic beeping. A bright red line spiked on the screen. The medical team surrounded her, giving orders that blurred into each other. The fluorescent lighting flickered overhead as if the building itself was startled. Daniel couldn't move, but every heartbeat inside him was loud and pounding. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the impossible reality that had landed in front of him. He remembered the phone call just an hour ago. A calm voice, a statement. His mother, ICU, come now. He hadn't thought, hadn't questioned. He had driven through the storm like the road was dissolving beneath him. He expected fear. He expected confusion. He expected to see his mother fighting for her life. What he did not expect was this. A hand closed around Daniel's arm. A nurse. Her expression was not panic like the others. It was something different. Controlled, sharply aware. Her grip was steady, not comforting, protective, urgent. Her eyes told him one thing without sound. Do not step closer. The alarms grew louder. The medical team shocked the woman's chest. Her body lifted and dropped against the mattress. The light bounced across her skin, across his skin, across a life that mirrored his own in perfect detail. Daniel's breath caught. His throat tightened. The hallway behind him blurred at the edges as reality struggled to hold itself together. He didn't know if he should move forward, run, or scream. The nurse's fingers tightened around his sleeve. Her expression said everything before her voice could. If he went any closer, if anyone saw the resemblance, everything in his life was about to break open. Daniel stared again at the woman lying in front of him. The machines, the wires, the fighting pulse. His face, his blood, his world tilted. Then the room fell to a sudden stillness, just for one horrifying second. And that was when Daniel realized something deeper than shock. This wasn't the first time someone had tried to keep him away from the truth. The alarms finally settled into a steadier rhythm, but the room didn't calm. The doctors exchanged looks Daniel couldn't read, tight, controlled, almost rehearsed. A curtain was drawn halfway, not to block the view, but to block attention. It was intentional, quiet, careful, like someone was trying to keep this moment contained before it could spread. The nurse who held Daniel's arm didn't let go. Her grip was constant, guiding him backward, step by step, away from the bed, away from the lights, away from the reflection that had stolen his breath. The hallway outside felt colder, narrower. The floor felt like it was tilting slightly, tilting him away from what he needed to understand. He looked through the small gap in the curtain again. The woman's face was pale, her breathing uneven, yet the familiarity was undeniable, like a memory he should have had but didn't. His chest tightened with the kind of confusion that hurts more than fear, the kind that steals logic first, then breath. Someone approached from the other side of the hall, a man in a hospital coat, holding a clipboard, older, tall, eyes sharp behind thin glasses. He stopped the moment he saw Daniel, really saw him. His expression shifted fast, too fast to hide. Not surprise, recognition. He had never seen him before. The man looked past the nurse, straight at Daniel's face, then toward the bed where the woman lay. His breath halted for the smallest second. It was enough. The nurse stepped in front of Daniel, blocking him with her shoulder, her protective wall. "Wrong room," she said smoothly, her voice level. "Family mix-up. I'll redirect him." The doctor didn't argue, didn't question, didn't even pretend to correct her. He simply nodded, because he already understood something Daniel didn't. The nurse guided Daniel farther down the hallway to a quieter corner where the echoes didn't follow. When she finally released his arm, the heat of her hand remained like a mark. Daniel didn't speak. He couldn't yet. His voice was still inside that room. The nurse exhaled, gathering her thoughts carefully, as though the air itself was being monitored. "That patient," she said softly, "wasn't supposed to arrive here under that name. And you were not supposed to be anywhere near this floor." Daniel felt something cold move through him, slow but heavy. "My mother," he managed, voice rough. "Where is she?" The nurse didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled a folded paper wristband from her pocket, taken from the woman in the bed. She held it between two fingers like something fragile. A printed name, a date, a hospital code. Daniel took it. The moment he saw the last name written there, his own last name, the hallway seemed to narrow to a single point. His pulse stuttered. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't some tragic mix-up in the ICU.
Someone had hidden a piece of his life from him. Someone had kept a person with his blood, his face, his scar, away from him. And now that secret was lying in a hospital bed, fighting for life. Daniel's grip tightened around the wristband until the plastic bent. When he looked back up, the nurse's expression had changed. She wasn't protecting him out of confusion or sympathy. She was protecting him because she knew. She leaned in, voice lower than before. "You need to understand something." A slight pause. "You weren't raised alone by accident." The hallway buzzed faintly. A distant elevator chimed. Someone called for a code check on another floor. But Daniel heard nothing except the echo of that sentence. Not an accident. Not a coincidence. Not alone. Before I continue, tell from which place are you watching this story right now. Please subscribe and like the video for motivation. The words hung in the air long after the nurse stopped speaking. Daniel felt the hallway around him fade, the voices, the lights, the hum of machines, everything shrinking into a single silent point behind his ribs. Not raised alone by accident. The sentence dug into him, slow and deep, as if it had been waiting years for him to finally hear it. The nurse didn't look away. Her eyes held something like regret, but not surprise. This wasn't new to her. This wasn't discovery. This was memory. She motioned for Daniel to walk with her, not far, just enough to get away from the ICU doors where footsteps and questions could come too easily. They stopped near a window where rain beat against the glass in relentless sheets. Streetlights blurred through the water trails, turning the outside world into a smear of gold and black. Daniel pressed his palm against the window to ground himself. The cold felt real, at least. When you were born, the nurse began quietly, your mother had 2 children, not 1. Daniel's pulse jolted, a harsh, painful beat. He didn't speak. He couldn't. The silence between them felt like it had weight now, gravity pulling at every breath. The nurse continued, voice steady but heavy. There were complications, not medical, family, arguments, pressure. Your mother was threatened with losing both of you if she kept you together. So she made a choice, a terrible one, the kind that never leaves a person. The rain on the glass blurred harder, as though even the night outside was reacting. Daniel's jaw clenched. His chest felt tight enough to crack. "I never told me," he forced out. "She wasn't allowed to," the nurse said. "There were legal bindings, sealed recordings. She wasn't even allowed to speak the girl's name again." Girl. The woman in the bed. His mirror. His blood. Daniel's throat tightened. His memories felt suddenly different. Every empty moment of childhood, every time he felt something missing without knowing what it was, it all began rearranging itself inside him like shards of glass, finding where they once belonged. He turned to the nurse. "How do you know all this?" The nurse didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small silver locket, old, worn at the edges. She placed it gently in Daniel's hand. He opened it. Inside, 2 tiny baby bracelets pressed together, identical, matching, one with his name, one with a different name, faded but still readable. Lena. Daniel's heart lurched. His breath broke. That was her name. The woman lying in that hospital bed wasn't just some secret, not just a reflection. She was his sister. But before the realization could settle, a sharp voice cut through the hallway. "Daniel?" He looked up. A doctor stood several feet away, posture stiff, expression carefully neutral, but his eyes flicked to the ICU wing behind them. "We need you to come with us." Not a request. The nurse's breath caught. Her shoulders tightened. She saw it, the change in her face, not confusion, not concern, warning. Something was happening inside that ICU room, something they didn't want Daniel to see. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The doctor waited. The hallway felt too narrow again, too quiet, too staged. Daniel closed his fingers around the locket. The metal bit into his palm. The truth had only just begun to show itself. He looked once more through the glass toward the ICU hallway. The curtain to his sister's room was no longer half-drawn. It was closed fully now. Daniel followed the doctor, but every step felt like walking through thick water. The hallway stretched long and colorless, the walls too smooth, too silent. A hospital was supposed to be full of life, voices, doors opening, footsteps, whispers. But this wing was different, empty, controlled, as if someone had cleared it before they brought him through.
The doctor didn't look back. His pace was steady, practiced, the kind of movement that wasn't improvised, it was routine. He had walked people down this hall before, people who weren't meant to ask questions, people who were just supposed to follow. They stopped near an office with frosted glass panels. The nameplate on the door had been removed. Just a faint outline remained where the letters used to be. The doctor unlocked it quietly, gesturing Daniel inside. No windows, no family pamphlets, no warm lighting, just a table, 2 chairs, fluorescent light humming overhead. The doctor motioned to the seat across from him. Daniel didn't sit, not yet. "My mother," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. "Where is she?" The doctor folded his hands slowly, like someone preparing to deliver something calculated. She isn't here. Daniel's chest tightened. I was told she was brought to this hospital. ICU. She was, but she was transferred before you arrived. Transferred. The word scraped hard. To where? Daniel asked. The doctor didn't look away. That information is sealed. Sealed, like every secret tonight. Something cold coiled low in Daniel's stomach. He stepped closer, voice low, steady. You're lying. The doctor didn't react. He had expected that. The door behind them opened. The nurse entered, but her expression had changed. Gone was the guarded urgency. Now there was something sharper, resolve. She placed a single manila folder on the table between them, a folder that didn't belong here. The doctor's eyes flicked to it, then to her, a silent warning, the kind that came from hierarchy, pressure, threat. But the nurse had already made her choice. Before she was transferred, the nurse said, her voice steady and clear, your mother asked for you. Daniel felt the air leave him in one slow exhale. His hands curled at his sides. She left something, the nurse continued. She told me to say one sentence, exactly as she said it. The doctor closed his eyes for a brief second, like he already knew what was coming and regretted being unable to stop it. The nurse looked directly into Daniel's eyes. She said, I tried to keep you apart so at least one of you would survive. Daniel's heart stumbled into a hard, painful beat. Survive. Not be okay, not be safe. Survive. Something wasn't just hidden, something was hunting them. The nurse nodded to the folder. Daniel opened it. Inside, a hospital record, dated 22 years ago. 2 newborns, 2 matching wristbands, 1 birth mother's signature, and beneath it, a discharge report. 1 child released to the mother, the other child transferred into state custody under confidential placement, citing safety risk. A safety risk? A newborn labeled a danger, or threatened by one. Daniel's vision sharpened, everything narrowing to the lines of that paper. His mother didn't separate them because she wanted to. She separated them because someone forced her to. The doctor finally spoke, voice quieter than before. Your sister's arrival today means whatever your mother feared has started again. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air heavier, the hum of the light louder. Daniel's throat felt tight, his pulse loud in his ears. The nurse stepped closer, her voice softer now. We brought you here not to hide her from you, but to decide what happens next. Because this wasn't just family history, this was something ongoing, something coming. Foot, 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 something coming.
Then, the lights in the entire hallway flickered. Once. Twice. Then the floor outside echoed with the sound of someone pushing through the ICU doors. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. The footsteps grew clearer, slow, heavy, the kind that didn't hide, the kind that wanted everyone to know it was coming. Daniel didn't move away from the table. The folder remained open in front of him. Names, dates, fingerprints, a truth too large to process. The nurse's breathing tightened, the doctor's jaw set. The hallway lights flickered again. Not a glitch, a signal. The door handle of the office turned. The nurse placed a hand on Daniel's arm, a quiet warning, not to stay still, but to be ready. The door opened. A man stepped in, tall, dark coat, no medical badge, no urgency, just presence. Eyes that had searched for someone a very long time. They landed on Daniel and held. The doctor didn't speak, didn't question, didn't resist. This wasn't someone you challenged. The man's hand slipped inside his coat, not aggressive, controlled. He placed something on the table, a photograph. 2 infants wrapped in identical hospital blankets, 2 faces almost the same. A moment before the split that shaped everything. The man looked at Daniel again, not with hostility, with recognition. "You grew into strength," he murmured, not as praise, but as assessment. Daniel's pulse tightened, but his gaze didn't break. The man glanced at the doctor. "You didn't tell him everything." The doctor's silence confirmed it. The man tapped one finger against the picture, precise, measured. "She's closer than you think." The nurse stepped slightly forward. "You can't take him, not yet." A faint smile touched the man's face, but it wasn't warmth, it was inevitability. "I'm not here for him." The air thinned. The nurse's hand dropped from Daniel's arm. The man's eyes held Daniel's for a moment longer, and something unspoken passed, a warning, a countdown, a beginning. "She's not the one you remember. The years did not shape her the same way they shaped you." Daniel felt the ground shift under the words. His sister wasn't just alive. She wasn't just coming. She had become something else. The man turned to leave, but just before he did, a distant sound cut through the hospital, sharp, metallic, echoing from the ICU wing.
Crash, then another. A tray hitting the floor. Then a voice, low, strained, terrified. "She's not sedated." Silence. A silence too complete. Daniel's chest tightened. The man paused in the doorway, voice calm, steady. "She woke up." The nurse's eyes widened, not with surprise, with fear. Daniel was already moving, down the hallway, past the flickering lights, toward the ICU doors. He pushed them open and stopped. Inside the room, an overturned bed, shattered glass, a monitor sparking on the floor, and in the center, a girl, thin, hair messy, hospital gown draped loosely, standing barefoot, breathing slow, her head lifted, eyes that mirrored Daniel's shape but held something sharp, feral, focused. Recognition hit both of them at the same time. Her voice was soft, steady, unshaken. "They shouldn't have brought you here." Daniel's heart struck hard. Not reunion, not relief, a warning. Her gaze flicked behind him, toward the hallway. "They're coming now." Then, lights snapped off. Darkness swallowed the hallway. No flicker, no emergency lights, just absolute black. For a moment the hospital was silent. Then came the sound, soft, almost gentle, bare feet stepping across broken glass. Daniel didn't move. His eyes strained, searching for shape, for motion, for anything familiar. The air held a faint mix of antiseptic and something metallic, not blood, fear. A whisper of movement in front of him. Her.
His sister. He could feel her presence before his vision returned. When the backup power hummed back on, dim red lights flooded the room.
Emergency mode. Everything looked drenched in shadow. She was standing close now, too close. Her face, pale, eyes steady, not wild as he expected, but aware, calculating. Years separated them, but nothing about her looked fragile. She spoke low, not rushed. They watched me, not healed me. Her tone wasn't dramatic, it was simply true. Daniel kept his voice inside. Words were useless here. She lifted her hand and pointed, not to him, not to the door, to the ceiling. A camera. Cracked. But still on. Someone was still watching. A distant alarm chirped 3 times. Short, patterned, not hospital protocol. She stepped closer, voice barely breath. They're not here to save us. The door behind them slid open. The nurse, her face tense, breath sharp, entered. Not running, not panicking, just moving fast. Her eyes met the girl's first. I told you we didn't have time. No shock, no greeting, just recognition. The girl nodded once, like a soldier receiving orders. Daniel's chest tightened. The doctor opened a drawer, no hesitation, and slid a small metal card across the counter to the nurse. Sub-level access, east stairwell. The nurse grabbed it. The girl didn't move. Daniel watched her chest rise and fall slowly, as if the world around her didn't rush the same speed as others. She turned her head toward the hallway.
Footsteps. Not heavy this time. Not threatening. Uniform. Synchronized. More than one. The nurse looked at Daniel. If they reach her, they'll sedate her permanently. No second chance. Daniel didn't need convincing. He reached for his sister's hand, but she didn't take it. Instead, she stepped past him, leading the way herself. Controlled. Certain. As if she had already escaped this place 1,000 times in her mind. The nurse pushed open the emergency door to the back corridor. Cold air rushed in. Sterile. Metallic. Industrial. The girl walked through first. Daniel followed. Just as the door began to close behind them, Boots turned the corner at the far end of the hall. Not guards. Not police. Private. Unmarked. Efficient. One of them spoke softly into his earpiece, eyes locking instantly on the group. The chase didn't start with shouting. It started with silence. A silence more dangerous than any alarm. The nurse grabbed Daniel's arm and whispered, "Do not look back." They ran. The corridor was cold and narrow, lined with pipes and humming wires. The air tasted like metal. Their footsteps echoed. Daniel, his sister, and the nurse leading with the key card clutched in her hand. Behind them, the synchronized footsteps of the private unit moved closer, not running, just closing in. They knew the hospital better than Daniel ever could. His sister's breathing was calm, too calm. Not panic, focus. Years had shaped her into something sharp. The stairwell door appeared at the end of the hall. The nurse swiped the card. A beep. The lock clicked. They slipped inside. The door shut behind them. Silence, except the low hum of the building's mechanical heart below. The stairs spiraled downward, each level darker than the one before. The nurse spoke without turning. They kept her on sub-level 3. It's where they do the scans, behavioral monitoring, memory regression sessions. Daniel felt his jaw tighten. What were they trying to make her into? The nurse didn't hesitate. Someone who doesn't question orders. The doctor's knowledge, the quiet warning in his eyes. The man in the coat. The message became clear. His sister wasn't just missing. She was designed. They reached sub-level 3. The walls were white. Too white. Not hospital white. Facility white. No windows. No patient posters. No softness. Everything was built to observe. His sister walked to one door. She didn't look unsure. She knew this place. She placed her hand flat against the glass. Daniel stood beside her. Inside. A room with a single chair. Straps. Mirrors that were not mirrors. He swallowed. Voice low. How long? She didn't answer right away. Finally. I stopped counting years when they stopped using names. Daniel felt something inside him break. Not violently. Just quietly. Like something giving up after holding too long. The nurse spoke again. Softer now. They'll try to take her back. They'll claim she's unstable. Dangerous. They'll call it protective medical custody. Daniel looked at his sister. Tell me what you want. Her eyes lifted to his. Not lost. Not afraid. Just tired. I want a life that isn't written by someone else. The footsteps returned. Closer now. No more slow approach. They knew where the group had gone. The nurse turned. No more running. If we run now, they'll chase forever. We end it here. But this wasn't a fight. Not fists. Not chaos. It was truth. The private unit appeared at the end of the hallway. Uniforms. Coordinated. Unreadable. The man in the dark coat stepped forward among them. The same man from before. The one that left the photograph. He didn't raise a weapon. He simply stood there, eyes on his sister, his voice calm, without force. You are not property. You can walk out those doors on your own terms. But if you leave, the world outside will not treat you gently. They fear what they don't understand. His sister stepped forward. Not retreat. Not surrender. She faced him directly. I don't need them to understand me. I only need space to become myself. The man nodded once. Respect. Not approval. Then he turned to the unit behind him. Stand down. No hesitation. The footsteps stopped. The nurse exhaled. Shocked. Relief trembling in her breath. Daniel didn't fully understand. But he didn't need to. The man looked at Daniel now. She will always walk on a thinner edge than most. Be the ground beneath her, not the cage around her. Then he walked away. The unit followed. No one looked back. Silence filled the hallway. Real silence. Not tension. Daniel turned to his sister. For the first time, her expression changed. Not a smile, but a release. A loosening. A beginning. They walked up the stairs together. Not running. Not being chased anymore. Through the back exit of the hospital. Into the cold night air. Damp. Quiet. Real. The city lights flickered in the distance. Life. Noise. People. Future. She looked at the sky as if seeing it for the first time. Daniel stood beside her. No dramatic embrace. No tears. Just presence. Enough. She finally spoke. What now? Daniel answered simply, truthfully. We learn each other again. Not a promise. A path. The night didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt open.